Good afternoon. I'll be presenting on behalf of Medicine One, and I've titled my presentation "A Castle Dilemma." The consultant in charge of my presentation is Dr. Mohan. Presenting Mr. B is a 26-year-old court worker who presented with abdominal fullness and distension for 3 months, pleuritic chest pain with intermittent breathing difficulty for 3 months, swelling of bilateral lower limbs, arms, and face for 3 months. This was initially the initial presentation was a fever which lasted for 15 days. This was 2 months back before he presented to CMC. This patient was well till 14th of September when he presented with fever for 15 days, which was low grade and intermittent. At this point, he also had chest pain predominantly at the subcostal angles and swelling of bilateral lower limbs, arms, and face. He was evaluated in a local hospital and found to have bilateral pleural effusion. At this hospital, he underwent an HRCT and he was told that it was suggestive of COVID and he was admitted and treated for the same, despite the rapid test being negative. From October to November, he had generalized weakness and fatigue, loss of appetite, cough with whitish expectoration. He was again evaluated, found to have a bilateral pleural effusion, anemia with a hemoglobin of 7.4, and he was transfused 2 pints. On 17th November, he had abdominal fullness and belching and pleuritic chest pain. He was again evaluated and found to have a bilateral large pleural effusion and mild pericardial effusion. Renal functions were deranged with a creatinine of 4.7. He was anemic and was transfused at this hospital as well. On examination in our hospital, on general examination, his vitals were stable. Pallor was present. He had bilateral pitting pedal edema. Lymphadenopathy was present. There was left supraclavicular, right cervical, and left axillary lymph nodes which are palpable. JVP was not elevated. Infraclavicular wasting was present. Respiratory examination. There was dullness on percussion with decreased breath sounds in the basal and infraaxillary regions bilaterally. His abdomen was distended with flanks full and shifting dullness was present. There were no focal neurological deficits. Summarizing, this was a 26-year-old male with no known comorbidities who presented with fever, polyserositis, including pleural effusion, ascites, with bilateral pedal edema, lymphadenopathy, anemia, and renal dysfunction. We thought of differential diagnosis along the following 4 categories: infections, malignancies such as lymphoma, autoimmune etiologies, and inflammatory etiologies, including Castleman's, sarcoid, etc. Coming to investigations, in our hospital, these were the following investigations that the patient underwent. He was found to have a thrombocytopenia with a platelet count of 69,000. Creatinine was 2.24. Hemoglobin was 9.4. On doing liver function tests, he was found to have an elevated alkaline phosphatase 1253 with a GGT of 159. He was found to be hypoalbuminemic with albumin of 2.6. At this point, we are thinking of an obstructive or an infiltrative liver pathology, which on subsequent scans we had ruled out one of those. I'll be coming to that in the next few slides. We had done inflammatory workup and autoimmune workup for him. CRP was elevated. ANA was 1+, however, dsDNA was only 2. Vascularity workup was negative. Infectious workup, we had done an EBV, HIV was negative, EBV was negative, HHV8 was negative. He was found to have an increased interleukin 6 and immunoglobulin G levels were also elevated, 2188. He was found to have a biclonal gammopathy on immunofixation electrophoresis. Ascitic fluid analysis did not reveal any malignant etiology. This patient underwent a CT angio, which did not reveal any obstructive liver etiology. There was no portal vein or hepatic vein thrombosis. CT angio, there was a splenomegaly and axillary and mediastinal and abdominal hyperenhancing lymphadenopathy was present. He underwent a bone marrow, which was negative for tuberculosis. However, there was mild lymphoplasmacytosis. There was no evidence of any granulomas or any malignancy. He underwent lymph node biopsies as well, initially from the right cervical and later from the left axillary lymph nodes. The right cervical lymph node, these were the prominent features that were visible on the lymph node biopsy. Few follicles with atretic germinal centers and prominent mantle zones were present. There was a germinal center which was radially penetrated by a prominent blood vessel. Interfollicular vascular proliferation and focal moderate plasmacytosis with sheets of plasma cells were present. There were no granulomas or any evidence of malignancy in this biopsy. Left axillary lymph node, it was quite a small specimen, and hence this was the only finding that the pathologist could comment on. There was plasmacytosis but no definitive evidence of lymphoma. At this point, we were faced with a diagnostic dilemma. In this patient, we had ruled out infectious etiologies. There was no evidence of TB, HIV, EBV, or HHV8. Malignant etiologies were ruled out. There was no evidence of lymphoma or plasma cell malignancies on multiple biopsies. Autoimmune markers were negative. The features on the biopsy were suggestive of Castleman's disease, but however, on discussion with the pathologist, because since the features were not present throughout the biopsies, they could not say that it was diagnostic of the same. This patient at this point had exhausted their finances. They were not willing for any further invasive investigations. So we were faced with the dilemma whether we treat based on current evidence or further investigate. The two options that we were faced with, whether to give a therapeutic treatment trial or whether to go for a transjugular liver biopsy, which on discussion with the pathologist, the yield was unlikely to be high. Coming to a few slides on Castleman's disease. Castleman's disease is a non-malignant lymphoproliferative disorder. The subtypes, clinical subtypes being unicentric, multicentric. Multicentric, which can be HHV8 associated or HHV8 negative. The pathological subtypes of Castleman's disease are hyaline vascular, plasmacytic, and mixed histologies. Coming to the etiopathogenesis of idiopathic multicentric Castleman's disease, it is proposed that this disorder is caused due to a cytokine storm with elevated circulating cytokine levels, causing an acute systemic inflammatory symptoms in the absence of an identifiable causative pathogen. This leads to histopathological changes in the lymph node and systemic symptoms, and the clinical symptoms wax and wane with interleukin-6 levels. Looking at what literature has shown us already, there is a literature review of idiopathic multicentric Castleman's disease, which has shown that patients present with the following features: anemia, elevated CRP, hypergammaglobulinemia, hyperalbuminemia, elevated interleukin-6, organomegaly in terms of hepato or splenomegaly, fever, edema, ascites, anasarca, or a combination of this. All these features were present in our patient. I will come to the diagnostic criteria that we used in the next slide. Coming to a next article which shows the diagnosis and management of Castleman's disease, they have characterized this as two pathological subtypes, which I mentioned in the earlier slide. One is a hyaline vascular variety and the other one is a plasmacytic variety. In the hyaline vascular variety, we can see atretic or atrophic germinal centers, which are expanded with concentric lymphocytes around the periphery, and also increased vascularity is observed and blood vessels may be seen penetrating germinal centers. This was also seen in our biopsy specimen of the patient. Plasmacytic variety shows sheets of plasma cells. And there is also a variety which is a mixed histology with features of both hyaline vascular and plasmacytic. This was a paper which reviewed data from 244 cases and reviewed a consensus diagnostic criteria for idiopathic multicentric Castleman's disease. What I have highlighted is what our patient had in major and minor criteria. In major criteria, the two criteria are: one is a pathological, histopathological features. Our patient had regressed atretic germinal centers with expanded mantle zones. Our patient had vessels penetrating into the germinal centers and sheet-like plasmacytosis in the interfollicular spaces. He also had enlarged lymph nodes. Among the minor criteria, he satisfied all the minor criteria with elevated CRP, anemia, thrombocytopenia, hypoalbuminemia, renal dysfunction, with an IgG level of more than 1,700. He also had clinical features of constitutional symptoms. He had a large spleen and he presented with fluid accumulation, edema, anasarca, ascites, and pleural effusion. However, since the pathological feature was not definitively diagnosed, we could not label him as an idiopathic multicentric Castleman's disease. What are the treatment options that we had? One was glucocorticoids, rituximab, combination chemotherapy, and anti-interleukin-6 therapy. All these are described as treatment options for idiopathic multicentric Castleman's disease. What the story so far, our patient received glucocorticoids, initially hydrocortisone and later switched to prednisolone and 1 mg per kg per day. This was the therapeutic trial that we had attempted for the patient, and he symptomatically improved as assessed objectively by resolution of pleural effusion, as we can see on the x-rays, absence of splenomegaly on repeat ultrasound, reduction in inflammatory markers, improvement in renal and liver functions with normalization of uric acid and phosphate levels. He's being kept under close follow-up with on an OPD basis. The learning points in this, I would say, was we were faced with a diagnostic dilemma, and in this scenario, whether to further invasively investigate the patient or use clinical judgment after having ruled out other etiologies to give a therapeutic treatment trial. And this is what we did for this patient. And another learning point would be the varied clinical and pathological subtypes of Castleman's disease and their presentations.
Thank you, David. Do any faculty have any questions for David? Dr. O.C., do you have any comments, sir?
Yeah, very well worked up. My only comment is that without the typical features on a histopathology, the diagnosis of Castleman's, meaning you should approach it with real caution. Because as I understand, the histopathology is the diagnostic one. It's the diagnostic one. So with this patient, unfortunately, we do not have the typical histopathology. Pathologists will not hesitate in calling it Castleman's disease, is my understanding.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, probably you are keeping this patient on close follow-up, David, to just see how the disease evolves. The only
Yes, sir.
concern would be that you've given steroids, so you may, if this is a lingering lymphoma that's going to be picked up later, you may not pick it up for a while. Thank you, David.
Yes, ma'am.
Just to remind everybody that the feedback, there was some delay in the previous one, but it will come at the end of the clinical meeting. Sorry, as soon as each person presents. So moving on to the next case by Medicine 3 by Dr. Jennifer, You Can't Get Rid of Me.